The glass fortress rain tapped against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the penthouse as Marcus Kincaid stood watching Seattle dissolve into evening mist. 50 floors above the city, everything looked small, traffic reduced to glowing streams, people to mere dots. It was the view of a man who had built an empire from lines of code. "Will you be home for dinner tonight?" Sophia's voice was soft behind him, careful as if treading on thin ice. Marcus turned to face his wife. Even after 3 years of marriage, her beauty still caught him off guard, dark hair falling in waves around her heart-shaped face, eyes the color of amber. But lately those eyes had carried shadows. "I have the investor call at 7, he said, adjusting his watch. "I'll try to wrap it up early." Sophia nodded, a small smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Don't worry if you can't. I might go out with Jen anyway." Marcus watched as she gathered her things, purse, phone, keys, with practiced efficiency. Another late afternoon departure. The third this week. "You've been seeing a lot of Jen lately," he observed, keeping his tone neutral despite the suspicion gnawing at him. "She's going through a rough time," Sophia replied, not quite meeting his eyes. "Divorce is hard." "Right." Marcus walked over to kiss her goodbye, noting how she leaned away slightly. "Give her my regards." After she left, Marcus stood in the silence of their home. Modern furniture, abstract art worth millions, smart technology seamlessly integrated into every room, a perfect showcase for the founder of Kincaid Systems. Yet lately it felt more like a museum than a home. He pulled out his phone and opened the tracking app his security team had installed. A precaution, they'd said, for a man of his wealth and status. He'd never used it before, until now. The little blue dot that represented Sophia's phone wasn't heading toward Jen's neighborhood. Instead, it moved steadily south, away from the glittering downtown towers and toward the industrial district. Marcus poured himself a scotch, telling himself to stop watching. Trust was the foundation of marriage. But as the minutes ticked by, he found himself still staring at that blue dot, which had now stopped moving in an area he didn't recognize. "Mr. Kincaid," his assistant's voice came through the intercom. "The development team is ready for your input on the security protocol." "Tell them I'll be there in 5, he replied, setting down his drink. That night, Sophia returned home smelling of rain and something else, a sterile institutional scent he couldn't place. She slipped into bed beside him, careful not to wake him, but Marcus was already awake, had been for hours. "How was Jen?" he asked into the darkness, a pause. "She's coping." In the morning, Marcus found a receipt that had fallen from Sophia's coat pocket. Not a restaurant, not a bar. A vending machine at Western State Correctional Facility dated yesterday. His heart plummeted as pieces began falling into place. Her absences, her distance, her lies. The woman he thought he knew was visiting someone in prison, and she hadn't told him. As he stared at the evidence in his hand, Marcus felt his world tilt. The tech genius who could solve any problem now faced a question for which he had no algorithm. Who was his wife really visiting behind bars? And why had she kept it secret for so long? Behind prison walls, the security guard at Western State Correctional Facility barely glanced at Marcus's fake ID. Few would recognize the tech billionaire in his current state, unshaven, wearing jeans and a baseball cap pulled low over his eyes. He'd left his Tesla at home, arriving instead in a nondescript rental car that now sat in the visitor parking lot. "Visiting hours end at 4, the guard droned, stamping his hand. "No phones, no gifts, without prior approval." Marcus nodded, throat dry as he entered the waiting area. The room smelled of industrial cleaner and desperation, filled with people from all walks of life united by their connection to someone behind bars. He took a seat in the corner, angling himself to watch the entrance. At precisely 2 o'clock, Sophia walked in. She wore no makeup, her hair tied back in a simple ponytail, so different from the polished woman who attended charity galas on his arm. She signed in with practiced familiarity, suggesting this wasn't just her third visit as the receipt had indicated. Marcus's heart hammered against his ribs as she disappeared into the visitation room. After a few minutes, he approached the desk. "I'm here to see Liam Carter," he said, the name he'd discovered after hiring a private investigator. Inside the visitation room, Marcus spotted Sophia immediately. She sat across from a man with sandy brown hair and haunted eyes. Liam Carter, 31 years old, serving 15 years for armed robbery and assault. The information had cost Marcus a small fortune, but money had never been an obstacle. He took a seat 3 tables away, hidden behind a large family reunion, and watched. There was no romantic embrace, no intimate touches. Instead, Sophia passed Liam a manila folder. They spoke intently, heads close together, occasionally writing notes. It looked less like a lover's rendezvous and more like a business meeting. At one point, Liam's face crumpled and Sophia reached across to squeeze his hand. The gesture was tender but not romantic, more like comfort between old friends or family. When visiting hours ended, Marcus slipped out first, racing back to his car. He watched Sophia emerge minutes later, wiping tears from her eyes before squaring her shoulders and walking to her car. That night, he studied Liam Carter's file again. No connection to Sophia was listed anywhere. The man had no social media presence before his arrest 5 years ago. It was as if someone had scrubbed his past clean. "You're working late?" Sophia said, appearing in his home office doorway. She wore a silk robe, her hair damp from the shower. Marcus closed the laptop quickly. "Just finishing up some code reviews." She lingered, hesitant. "Marcus, we should talk." His pulse quickened. "About what?" "About us." She entered the room, perching on the edge of his desk. "We've been distant lately. I miss you." As she leaned in to kiss him, Marcus caught that same institutional scent on her skin. He returned the kiss anyway, closing his eyes against the deception hanging between them like an invisible wall. Later, as she slept beside him, Marcus stared at the ceiling and made a decision. Tomorrow he would confront her. But first, he needed to speak with Liam Carter alone. Unspoken truths. You're not on my visitor list. Liam Carter's voice was rough as he stared at Marcus across the table. Up close, Marcus could see faded scars along the man's forearms and a wariness in his eyes that spoke of hard-earned survival. "I paid to expedite the process," Marcus replied. "Money still opened doors, even prison doors. So you're the billionaire husband." Liam leaned back, a bitter smile playing on his lips. "Sophia finally told you about me?" Marcus maintained his composure, even as his stomach twisted. "Actually, she hasn't. That's why I'm here." The revelation seemed to surprise Liam. He studied Marcus for a long moment before sighing. "Then I'm not the one who should be telling you anything." "She's been lying to me for months," Marcus pressed. "Sneaking off to see you. I deserve to know why." "Deserve?" Liam's laugh was harsh. "Man, you have no idea what that word means. Go home and ask your wife." Marcus leaned forward, voice low. "I'm asking you. And I can make things very comfortable or very uncomfortable for you in here." Something dangerous flashed in Liam's eyes. Threats don't work on a man who's already lost everything. He stood abruptly. "Guard, I'm done." That evening, rain lashed against the penthouse windows as Marcus confronted Sophia in their living room. "Who is Liam Carter to you?" he demanded, tossing the prison visitor logs onto the coffee table. Sophia stared at the evidence, the color draining from her face. "You had me followed?" "Answer the question, Sophia." She sank onto the sofa, hands trembling. "He's my brother." The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. "Your brother? You told me your only brother died in a car accident 10 years ago." "I lied." Tears filled her eyes. "I've been lying since the day we met." "Why?" The single word contained all his confusion, all his hurt. "Because Liam was already in prison when we met," she whispered. "And my real name isn't Sophia Evans, it's Sophia Carter." The truth spilled out between sobs. How Liam had been her protector growing up in foster care after their parents died. How he'd gotten involved with a crew that robbed high-end stores. How during one robbery, a security guard had been shot, not by Liam, but by the crew leader, Anton Russo, the son of a prominent businessman. "Liam took the fall," Sophia explained. "Anton threatened to come after me if Liam didn't confess. So my brother sacrificed everything to protect me. And you changed your identity?" She nodded. "I was afraid of Anton finding me. I moved to Seattle, became Sophia Evans, and tried to start over." Her eyes met his. "Then I met you, and for the first time in years, I felt safe." I couldn't bear to lose that by telling you the truth. So all this time you've been what? Trying to clear his name? Yes, she wiped her tears. I've been gathering evidence against Anton, but his father has connections everywhere. No one will touch the case. Marcus stood by the window, processing this revelation. The woman he'd married had been living a double life, carrying this burden alone. Were you ever going to tell me? He asked finally. Sophia's voice was barely audible. I don't know. Broken pieces, Marcus sat in his private office at Kincaid Systems headquarters, surrounded by monitors displaying everything his team had uncovered about Anton Russo in the past 3 weeks. The son of real estate mogul Vincent Russo had a history of violence concealed by his father's influence. Multiple assault charges mysteriously dropped. Witnesses who recanted statements. Judges who recused themselves without explanation. The security footage from the robbery has been lost, reported Naomi Chen, Marcus's head of security and former FBI cybercrime specialist. But we found the original police reports before they were altered. 3 witnesses initially stated the shooter wore a red jacket. Liam was wearing blue, Marcus said, recalling the case file. Exactly. And look at this. Naomi pulled up a social media photo from the day before the robbery. Anton Russo stood smiling, arm slung around a girl, wearing a distinctive red leather jacket. For the first time in weeks, Marcus felt a glimmer of hope. It still wasn't enough to overturn a conviction, but it was a start. At home, things remained fragile between him and Sophia. She had moved into the guest bedroom the night of their confrontation. They orbited each other carefully, like planets knocked off their axes, trying to find a new equilibrium. I visited Liam today, Sophia said one evening as they ate dinner in silence. He told me you went to see him. Marcus set down his fork. I needed answers. I understand. She looked tired, the weight of her secrets finally visible. He also said you threatened him. I was angry. Sophia's eyes met his. Are you still angry? The question hung between them. Marcus considered it carefully. I'm hurt that you didn't trust me, but I understand why. Later that night, he found her on the balcony, wrapped in a blanket against the October chill, staring at the Seattle skyline. My legal team is looking into Liam's case, he said, joining her. Sophia turned to him, surprise evident. Why would you do that? Because he's your brother. Marcus took a deep breath. And because I love you, the real you, whoever that is. I don't know if I remember who that is anymore, she admitted. I've been Sophia Evans for so long. Then we'll figure it out together. The next day, Marcus received a call that changed everything. One of Anton Russo's former crew members, now dying of cancer in prison, had agreed to testify that Anton had been the shooter. In exchange, he wanted his daughter's college education paid for, a small price for the truth. As Marcus drove home to share the news with Sophia, he reflected on their marriage. It had been built on a foundation of half-truths and omissions, yet the love had been real. Perhaps they could begin again, with honesty this time. He found Sophia packing a suitcase. What are you doing? He asked, heart sinking. Vincent Russo called me today, she said, face pale with fear. He knows I've been building a case. He threatened Liam, said accidents happen in prison all the time. Marcus crossed the room, taking her hands. Listen to me. We have a witness. Anton's former crew member is ready to testify that Anton was the shooter, not Liam. Hope and disbelief warred on Sophia's face. Is it enough? With my resources behind it? Yes, he squeezed her hands. Stay, Sophia. Let's fight this together. The light between snow dusted the courthouse steps as Marcus and Sophia climbed toward the entrance. 6 months of legal battles had culminated in today's hearing. Inside, their legal team waited with the evidence that would finally set Liam Carter free. Witness testimony, forensic reanalysis, and financial records showing payments to officials who had covered up the truth. Are you ready? Marcus asked, squeezing Sophia's hand. She nodded, eyes bright with unshed tears. Whatever happens, thank you for believing in us. The courtroom fell silent as the judge entered. Vincent and Anton Russo sat on the opposite side, their expressions stony. The elder Russo had fought them at every turn, But even his influence couldn't suppress the mountain of evidence Marcus's team had assembled. 2 hours later, it was done. The judge overturned Liam's conviction, citing prosecutorial misconduct and new exculpatory evidence. Anton Russo was taken into custody, his father's empire already crumbling under investigation for corruption and witness tampering. 3 days later, Sophia stood trembling beside Marcus at the prison gates. When Liam emerged, carrying a small box of possessions, she broke free and ran to him. Brother and sister embraced, 5 years of separation dissolving in tears and laughter. Marcus watched them, feeling like an outsider until Liam looked up and beckoned him over. "My brother-in-law," Liam said, extending his hand. "Sophia told me what you did. I misjudged you." "We all misjudged each other," Marcus replied, shaking the offered hand. Later that evening, after Liam had been settled into the penthouse guest room, Marcus found Sophia on their balcony, watching the snow fall over Seattle. "He's finally free," she said as Marcus joined her. "I still can't believe it." "Believe it." He wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "And Vincent Russo will face charges for his part in the cover-up." Sophia turned to face him. "Where do we go from here, Marcus? So much has happened, so many lies between us." "We start over," he said simply. "No more secrets. No more Sophia Evans or Marcus Kincaid, tech billionaire. Just us, learning to be ourselves with each other." "Can it be that simple?" "Not simple," he admitted, "but possible." She leaned into him, her head fitting perfectly against his shoulder. "I never stopped loving you, even when I was afraid of losing you. And I never stopped loving you, even when I didn't know who you really were." Inside, they heard Liam laugh at something on television, a sound Sophia had feared she might never hear again. Outside, the city lights sparkled through the gently falling snow, each one a promise that darkness never lasts forever. Marcus turned Sophia to face him, cradling her face in his hands. "Your brother said something to me today. He said that sometimes we have to lose everything to find what really matters." "And what matters to you, Marcus?" she asked, her eyes searching his. "This," he whispered, bringing his lips to hers. "Just this." As they stood wrapped in each other's arms, the past finally behind them, Marcus realized that true wealth had nothing to do with the empire he'd built. It was here, in the trust rebuilt from broken pieces, in the love that had survived deception and doubt, in the family they were becoming, flawed, complicated, and wonderfully real.